Hello everybody and welcome to this webinar of openMAINT 2.3 version in which I will describe the main integrations and novelties of the product. I am Alberto Pittolo, the project leader of openMAINT, and let's move on the outline of today. So let's have a look. First of all, I would like to describe what we have done concerning the maintenance processes integrations. For example, we have now the possibility to identify a specific assignee in addition to the conventional supplier and team. Moreover, we have introduced the knowledge base and its management with a moderator. We will see a couple of details later on. Then we have completely renewed the checklist management with new available types and also dynamic email generation, and more practical and useful the possibility to directly open corrective maintenance from a preventive one. Concerning other extensions to the other models, we have done some integrations concerning the attachments, namely photo and signature categories, then a new report attachment list that gives you a recap of the attachments in your system, and also a consumable class extension. Then the energy management module improvement, and other functionalities that exploit the CMDBuild core functionalities that have been introduced with the 3.4.1, and you can refer to these ones in the previous webinar concerning the core webinar part. Mainly, we will discuss about the GIS improvements, so the bidimensional map, like info windows, form fields, and so on, and also some aspects concerning the emails, as I have discussed, and checklist and consistency validation. But let's move on. Some general overview. So I will give you a couple of details before, and then I will show you what this practically turns out into the openMAINT live demonstration. So I will start with the maintenance process integrations. As I said, we can now optionally specify the assignee in addition to the supplier and the team. What can be done? We can identify a specific person or employee that takes care of the maintenance, and we can, of course, we have included an action to reassign and change possibly the assignee. Of course, this also involves a signature management for the activity report that is printed and attached automatically to the emails that are sent by the system. So now we have the possibility to sign automatically, if you of course have the signatures of your employees or the team into the system, sign the attachment in a way that the activity report appears signed by both parts, also from the committee and from the performer. We will see later on directly in the web app. Then we have introduced the knowledge base, really useful to maybe handle typical problems or maybe to answer some FAQs or typical issues. So instead of maybe reinvent something, you can just have a baseline guideline to refer to. And in this case, we can directly watch that knowledge base from the maintenance processes, both corrective and preventive. But there is also a simple process that allows to manage these requests or these knowledge base entries, these topics, with a moderator that can be, of course, configured that decides if the new knowledge base can be published or is for internal use, or maybe have to be rewritten, and so it can decide how to behave. As I said, there are also additional checklist types. We extended this section since we have not only a yes or no, or a flag, or a text field, but we have included more or less all the basic CMDBuild or openMAINT types, namely dates, time, numbers, values, numbers, and also lookups, so closest list fields. Then we have also a possibility to start corrective maintenance from preventive ones. This is really useful because, for example, let's assume that one of the elements that we are checking during our preventive, so periodic and scheduled maintenance, needs to be repaired or is broken. We can directly from that process start a corrective maintenance approach. This is really helpful for the teams. And last but not least, we have dynamic emails management. So with respect to the previous version where the emails were sent in the background, let's say, and you will see them, but only when the step has been executed. Now you will see the emails that have been generated dynamically real time. So according to the process details, you can see, for example, according to the action or according to the data the employee is setting, you can know and see the template generated accordingly. So this is really helpful. Then, before to go to the live demonstration, I want to discuss the extensions to the other modules. So we have new categories for the attachments. As I said, we have introduced the photo category. This is really helpful for in two different fields. For the employee's profile, for example, where you can store the profile of the employee or the ID card or the picture, so it will be helpful to identify your personnel. But it's also really helpful for the map view, so you can have a preview when you open the map. We call it info window, to show some details or a picture together with a picture directly on the map. So this is helpful in order to identify or to have a look of the structure of whatever buildings, but every kind of thing that is georeferenced on the map. We have also included the signature, and it is helpful for automatically sign documentation, for example, the activity report that is used within the maintenance processes. Moreover, according to that attachments, we have thought that it will be helpful to have a report that recaps all the attachments in the system, and so we provide a new report that provides a complete list of the attachments by class, card, and with the corresponding specs. So you have a list of everything is loaded as attached as a file in the system. Then we have extended the consumable class for many reasons, because at the beginning was just a code and a description, but now you can specify and include additional details like brand, model, dimensions, and so on. So it is also maybe, how can I say, prepared for a possible also extension or integration with the movement from maybe a consumable that can be converted or used in as a device or as an asset. And then there have been some improvements in the energy management module. For example, we've improved the reading time management to simplify it and also make it easier. And the same applies for the dashboard chart, where we have included the asset specification and also improved the graphical representation of the data collected maybe from the sensors or available in some other ways. So last part is the exploitation of the features of the CMDBuild core application. In this field, we have been capable to improve the GIS map representation. How? As I said, with an info window core capability, having an image preview and some basic and main infos concerning the selected card ready and directly available from the map. Moreover, we have included the file fields, so box fields directly in the form of the card that allows you to specify and load attachments, and this way you can also have a preview directly in the form. So as I said, for the employees, we will see in a couple of minutes. And last but not least, the GIS navigation tree that allows you to hierarchically structure the layers so they are not flat as before, but you can identify a more suitable like menu of navigation of the features, also to make it easier to navigate through the map. Then, as I said, the dynamic emails management. In this case, in the processes, they will be generated according to the selections done by the users, and also they can be visible before they've been sent, so you can have a look at what is going on and what it would be sent to the following operator. Finally, also a checklist management improvement, because before we have had to write a specific custom page, so an entire section to manage this part, since it's, as you can imagine, really specific for maintenance, where we have to perform checks and so on. Now, with the core functionalities, we have been capable to do the same thing and improving that with a custom widget, so a component that is built in within the process without the necessity to write the whole behavior and so a page, but only a component integrated into the process, so a logic inside the process itself. Then we are being capable to perform consistency validations, like for example from date, if you have a contract or a budget or whichever that has a start and a stop date and a begin or an end, to check everywhere, or everywhere as a common sense, to have, for example, the end date that is greater than the begin date, and so on. This has been done with, for example, the field features made available by the core functionality. So now I would like to jump to the live demonstration to show what I have said in Word in practice. So let's have a look here to the application. First of all, let's have a look here at a process. We are here, you can see, in the corrective maintenance section, and we are in execution. If I can press the pencil, I can go in modify, as you know, and as you can see here, the assignee has not been specified, since maybe you don't know one. But as I said, you can now have a possible additional action that is change assignee, and this that now is not available field turns out to be modified, and of course also mandatory. And you can, for example, specify who has to take care of this maintenance. So for example, I will decide for Bower JSON. I execute, and of course the system will assign that maintenance to this new assignee. Of course, also an email has been sent, as you know, if you already know the application, as you can see here, execution reassignment with all the data here of the process. Bear in mind that this is only a template of the email that you are free to modify up to your company format, so it's just for demo purposes, and so you can include whichever information you want and format it according to your needs. So this is, for example, how the assignment of new assignee works, and you can see that now the assignee is JSON here, and it cannot be changed unless I perform the change assignee action again. Of course, for example, just to have a look to the emails dynamic generation, if I press here the email, you can see that in draft has been generated an email, so a template that you can have a look to, and you can see that since I have selected the reassign, there is an execution reassignment email with the corresponding data. But of course, just to have a look here, pay attention, here there are only the reassignment, the data, and then here at the bottom the links where you can connect to from desktop or mobile, depending on the device you are using in that moment. Now, if, for example, I close this and I change the action here, maybe I say conclude and put the outcome and maybe also the date and also some notes, all has been done successfully. And I press again to the email, you can see that the email has been regenerated, and if I open it, you can see that this is changed, so execution, not reassignment, but just execution, because I have completed it, and you can see the outcome that I have set, positive, so, and also my comments in the notes, so you can see all the things that I have included in the process, or I have changed, have been updated dynamically. Also, changing the email template according to if I have concluded, if I have to reassign, or maybe if I have to reject it. So it's really, really powerful, and it's really useful to have this email directly available here. Then I would like to focus on the signatures for the activity report. As you know, here we have an activity report available that tells you the main details concerning that activity, and of course what has been going on in case there are some spare parts or some materials that you are have been used. And as you can see at the bottom here, you have the performer and the customer. In this case, the performance is the one we have selected, so JSON, and the customer is Tecnoteca. Of course, this has not been signed yet because we are still in execution, so the report here is printed in a way that is not marked as concluded, because maybe I can also select reschedule activity, and so go back and don't conclude the activity. So I have to first execute to confirm my option. Until that, you can see that here the activity report is not marked as completed, of course, and the performer and the customer, of course, are filled but not signed. If instead we press execute, we have that since we have selected to complete the activity, the process will be executed, and so the step is accounting, so the final one, so we go from execution to accounting, you can see that there is an email additional here, but also an attachment that is the report that has been attached directly to the process. And you can see that now we have the signatures here of the company in this case. So since the reference, the certifier is the company, and the performer there. But you can have, for example, the signature of the requester, of the supervisor of the building, and here the signature of the team. It's up to you which one. But if you store these informations within the application, so for example the signatures, you can have this already present on the file. As you maybe know, not only this report has been attached to the process, but also to the email that has been sent. So the latest email sent here, you can see that tells execution, as we have seen before, has been completed with the outcome, with my comment. And of course, you have here the how can I say, the list, the complete list of the emails that have been going on. Now I want to focus on another aspect that is not the emails, not the attachments. In this step, of course, is not available because we are already in accounting, so you can only manage what is being done. But if I go on another maybe process, let's take one in assignment, like that one, you can see that I have a knowledge base button available here, and we have made it available in assignment and in execution steps, since also in both of them can be helpful to maybe have a look for some typical issues or problems. And so if I press here, you can see if there are something, some suggestions, and automatically filtered concerning the type here, the category and subcategory of the process. But if I remove, you can see that I can show many other different topics if I remove all the filters. For example, so the user can be guided to the most suitable knowledge base that can maybe help and identify the problem. For example, if I take another ticket, probably I will have a different view because the category and subcategories are different, and so I can have a related knowledge base option. So for example, from here, I can try to identify if this there is some topic that some knowledge base that helps me. For example, a FAQ, I can open it, and of course here I can see what is not the title but also the details. And of course, if there is no knowledge base related to my topic, I can also decide to add a new topic, because this one, for example, I am the super user, so I can see everything, but here you can see the state of the topics of the knowledge base. So some are public, and so everybody can see them. For example, the FAQ, some one are under review, so maybe are only visible for internal use, and some other are only specifically for internal usage. So I can decide maybe to add a topic. I can decide a title. In this case, maybe I have a plans and a check of the electrical system. So I can just make an example, how to change the light, and I can put it like this is maybe a FAQ, press maybe the red button and push the grid on the left, and then you will be able to change it because maybe there is a cover that protects the light. So how to change light with grid, with maybe protecting grid. So this is a FAQ that you can answer. So in this case, I can save it, and so you can see that here topic successfully saved, and it's under draft. So it has just inserted, so it's a draft FAQ. I can FAQ, so I can link the topic to this process so that it will be helpful, and I know that maybe this kind of topic helped me in solving the problem. If I link this and I press yes, you can see that the link topic is here in the bottom. So it's really helpful because except of that I can have multiple, or I can link also many different topics that help me in solving the problem, but I can also, as unrelated of course if I am wrong, but with this button, as you can see, copy topic content to process, is I can copy the comments or the solution of the topic directly to the process. So what I write, if I press that and I close, you can see that here the content has been copied in the notes, so I don't have to rewrite it, but it's being copied directly from the knowledge base. So it helps me in quick and fast and speed up the solution procedure, improving the resolution times. Now I would like to, since the knowledge base is not concluded here, because here and also in the preventive maintenance is the way one can of course consult and see what is already present and add maybe additional entries. But there is of course an additional section here, knowledge base, that we've included, where you can see all the topics. Of course, I am the administrator, so I can see all the topics concerning the role. I log in, I can see maybe only the draft. On the public, if now I can, to show you the behavior, I can see everything. And so, for example, let's take the latest included one. Here, I can decide to have a look on the of what is has been inserted. Maybe let's assume that I am the moderator, and as the help here tells, once in a review, the topic can be modified only by the moderator. So let's assume that I am the operator that has included this topic. Maybe I just modify it to improve it like that. Act as follows. So just to make it maybe more fancy, I've moved like that, so I can improve the layout, and I can say when I'm happy with that, I decide, okay, this is fine for me, it would be helpful. I just decide to submit and change the state in review state. When I press save, this of course will be available only in read mode for me, because now it's under revision, and only the moderator can decide what to do. Now, of course, I'm super user, so I can do everything. So let's assume that I am the moderator. I see what happens here. I can have a look and maybe modify it, and I can decide if to put back them it in draft mode, or decide to publish as internal or as public. Maybe in this case, I decided to put it an internal. I save, and you can see that now it's an internal state. And of course, if I want to maybe in future has to be modified, I can do it directly from here if I am the moderator, but I can put them back in review, or decide to swap it to public, maybe because it's of use, or also other people, not only inside my company but also external people that access to my system. So this is more or less the behavior of the knowledge base. Now I would like to jump on the preventive maintenance, and in this regard I will take one that I have just here already prepared to see the improvements concerning the checklists that we have performed. For example, here you can see, with respect to the previous implementation, that you have some fields that are date fields, so you can decide a date. Some others are a time, other one are numbers that can be like a floating point or whatever. The ones that we are used to, like yes or no, text fields, done, not done, and also timestamps, so date and time, and also lookups, so closed list, for example here the countries, and this is incredibly helpful, so you can specify and define whatever you want. And so, for example, if I jump to the fire extinguisher 2, that nothing has been completed yet, and you can see that in orange, you can decide, maybe you can put maybe note the last check time, I don't know it, so, or maybe it is not reported, so I can put ND as also stated here, and maybe put a note here to say the information is not available, and save, and so on. I can fill it up here with the weight of the component. This I can be, it's okay. And the manufacturer name, it's a string, a text string, because maybe I don't have all the manufacturers, so I leave it free. But otherwise I can have a closed list selection as there with the countries to populate it. And let's assume, for example, that I change on the last fire extinguisher here that is broken or damaged in some ways, and you can see here a start corrective maintenance, and if I press it, you can see that automatically I have some informations completed, for example where I am, so already the fire extinguisher, so since I have opened to this specific equipment, now the requester, I have to select it because I'm not impersonating a real user, but I the admin. If I was a real user, I would be auto-populated, and then specify that the device is broken, and then I put that damage and priority medium, for example. Now that everything has been completed, as I am at the first step in the corrective, I can execute and start a corrective maintenance directly from the preventive, and as the message states here. And I can see that now is not the button is not a start but an open, and to see the main details, so I can see the execution date, maybe the hypothetical execution and the date, the closure, the hypothetical date closure, and also some basic informations that now is an assignment, and then I can have a look on the progress of this activity that is binded to the preventive. Of course, this can be applied to any of the assets, because, for example, for the third fire extinguisher here, I have opened the maintenance because it's broken, but while contrarily for the second one, you can see that there is the start, because this is everything fine, is related asset by asset, component by component. So it's up to me to each one, if necessary, open a corrective maintenance. For example, in this case, only the third extinguisher has been something wrong. And just to take into this discussion, now all the component here under the checklist section has been included as a custom widget exploiting the new CMDBuild features and not redrawing the whole behavior of the process to have this advanced functionality of the checklist. So the powerfulness of this is that the process is kept straightforward, simple, and basic, and just we have included a custom widget to simply manage this specific behavior without rewriting the code to capture also the other stuff that is the conventional process functionality. Finally, I would like to show you what have been done concerning the additional modules integrations. For example, here you can see that directly in the form I have included, let me this one, yes, you can have a profile picture here. Of course it's a sample one, but directly in the forms this is an attachment that of course tells you maybe better who is this person, and this is incredibly useful. But more than that, you here under the attachments you can see here the signature of that employee, that is the one that has been included to the attachment list report, so sorry, to the activity report. So they are marked specifically as a photo, as a signature, of course, with respect to the basic image or document, and one is in this case has been used to sign documentation, to sign the report, the other to display him there. The same thing applies, of course, for example, on the locations. So if I go under building and I take our headquarters, you can see here the picture of our building, but beyond the fact that is shown here and you can see a preview, you can open the map, and as you have seen or you will see in the core webinar, you can have an info window with the basic the preview of the image and some additional details here at the bottom. So incredibly helpful. Then, as I said, you can you can have here a hierarchical structure of the layers displayed on a map. Let me zoom in and close this to make you better understand. So if I go there, and maybe let's go under the other floor, so the one that we are currently now, you can see here the levels organized by maybe location elements, outdoor or indoor elements. So it will be really useful, because you can structure these layers, as you can see, according to maybe, you know, asset, outdoor elements. And it's easy, for example, to disable the computers. So you can see there that will appear and disappear, as for example the splitter. So it's easier to have and deactivate some of the components. What else? Concerning the attachments, as I said, you have this practical report that is, if printed like that, gives you the list of all the reports. You can see maybe under building we have all the attachments. You can see under Tecnoteca we have the cadastral certificate, the energy performance, the photo of the building, and you can see here some basic informations like the name of the file and the description that I've done and when I have uploaded it. But I can maybe, if I want, include also the size or other specs. Here is the simple report to have a look. but you can decide to specify it. Of course, I can, since the list can be incredibly huge, we have foreseen a filter here that you can maybe filter only the attachments on the corrective maintenance, and you can see here that there are documents attached, and practically they are the activity reports attached to the processes that have been generated in the maintenance process. And now the last thing is the consumables and energy management modules. So I jump that for a couple of minutes just to show you that here under the consumables you can see, just back to the list, that now for a specific consumable you don't have only description and code, but also category type, brand, model that is free, material, so which material is, the dimensions. So you can specify additional details that can be really helpful in defining, for example, a piece of wood or a light or whatever. And so it has been extended. While concerning the energy management module, we have extended and improved the way on which we store, for example, here the reading type. So you can specify a contract, a reading type, so on which contract the reading is based, for example, for light consumption or gas consumption, but also you can relate the reading to an asset. So we have included also the field to relate that reading to an asset, and the reading type, so you can decide if this is because for that asset, maybe you can, or for that contract, you can have a reading concerning the gas, concerning the electricity, concerning whatever. So you can specify it, and of course register the date and the value. This can be done manually or can be done automatically by reading on the sensors. And of course, here we have extended the dashboards, so you can see the reading trend, the reading consumptions, and for example, let's take here domestic gas. You can have, for example, a dashboard that gives you the dashboard in some intervals, so you can enlarge or change the parameters, so to have a recomputation of the intervals according to your needs. And so this has been improved, and you can, for example, select a contract, a utility contract, or a specific asset if according to what the readings has been associated. So this concludes the main aspects that we have integrated. Of course, there are many other things that are maybe slightly modification or improvements, as always, some bug fixes. So I would like to jump back to the presentation, and for me this is I finished my presentation. So thank you really much for your time and your attention, and I hope it has been helpful to see what's new in the application. I will remember, as always, our contact. You can visit our website, www.openmaint.org, or see and subscribe to our newsletter, find us on Twitter, ask or feel free to view our forum, and for any commercial stuff, please feel free to write to sales@tecnoteca.com. So thank you really much. I'm here for your questions that I will answer just in a couple of minutes. So here we are. Let's answer to the questions. Can a mask ask asked, can I define checklist for specific particular elements? Yes, of course you can. Let's say that the checklists are associated to sets, so you can, in any subset, put into whatever you want. In the example I've done, there are the extinguishers of Tecnoteca, so all the extinguishers of the quarters of that site. But you can, for example, if there is a specific element, let's say have a subset that includes only that element, so related binded to element to subset, so that you can assign a specific maintenance to that specific element, because maybe it's really peculiar. Simon asked, can I show some details of the elements directly on the GIS map? Yes, you can. With the core capabilities, now you have some labels at the bottom that you can use as to see what going on the application. For example, some details concerning the informations. Now I will show you. Let me see here. If you can see with the core functionalities here, I can decide to show the information related, for example, to the rooms, and you can see that there are the labels here representing the code and the description of the room, so it will be easier to see with what kind of room it is without having to go to the detailed section here. Then let me jump here. Giovanna asked, what about BIM? How can I interact with the BIM model? Yes, you can interact with the BIM model, and how? It's really easy. Also with that, I jump back to the presentation, and now I don't have the BIM here activated, but I will show you anyway. If you are on the lists, if you have the BIM here, it will appear an additional icon that will bring you to the BIM viewer, and directly also to the related element. For example, if I am on the building, it opens the whole BIM file. If I am on the room and I have a connection created within, for example, the bed or the door and the BIM file, if I press that icon, the system will open the viewer and also select and zoom to the specific element, as it does for the GIS part. So it's a specific button. Siavash asked, what have you done for data security and management? I hope that to interpret well the question, all the, for example, SQL, so the code that has been passed for filters and so on has been encrypted, so you have an hexadecimal pattern that cannot be changed or forced or modified, and so that any kind of trying to injection or something like that is avoided. But this is maybe explained better in the core webinars, where this is a core functionality. If you mean something other, please just add some informations. Other question, please talk about the energy management model more. It depends what you want to know about that. I can tell you that we have different approaches. We can interact and collect, measure, and gather measurements also from external systems in many ways, from API, from spreadsheet. We can also contact directly on the sensors via a Modbus protocol. We can also interact maybe only with external systems that performs the collection and not just give us the data. So we can interact with the energy management in many ways. As you can see here, we have a Modbus configuration to interact directly at low level with the system, but also we have deployed functionalities also to talk to some other applications via APIs. Clara asked, is it possible to know how many spare parts are available in a given structure? Oh yes, of course. I can show you in a couple of seconds. Here we have a report that prints you what is available. For example, the spray, I have 99 spare parts in all my stocks. And I have halogen, the date of usage, for example, here has been used yesterday, and so I have a total of 84. I can have it for a global of my warehouses, but I can also run the report looking at, for example, a specific warehouse. In this case, I have only 2 lamps in this one, for example. And Jovan, no, this is already written. No. Yes, do you have any asset for each one extinguisher? Can they also be grouped in order to have a global vision from which can be, however, seen if some of them need another intervention? Yes, of course. You can start maintenance process having the detail of the asset. In our case, the one I show you, I have the specific extinguisher. This is really helpful to know which one is broken, which not. In your case, if you want only to track, for example, the fire extinguisher intervention, you can have just let's call it a placeholder without having all the devices, and start the maintenance on that without, of course, you don't have to the granularity of the information of the single specific fire extinguisher, but you can anyway track that you have performed that maintenance on that site, for example. Siavash, you have the document in third-party application. How did you save the file? Yes, you're right. So typically, if you don't select an additional interaction, by default, openMAINT stores the attachments on Alfresco that is already present on our VMs, that is dedicated to version the file, store it in a proper way, and so on. But it's completely transparent for the final user, so everything is directly manageable within the application, so you can load it, download an older version, delete it directly from openMAINT without being worried of how it's managed. For example, in this case, the preview here you can see the picture. Let me back into the view mode. This picture, it's here, but if I press the pencil and I go in modify, you can see that there is a box, and I can press browse, and I can select any file of my folder. Of course, I can limit it to PNG or to an image. I can do whatever I want, and this way I can also, with the X here, delete it or update it. So this is really easy. Is the information like the files you mentioned in the demo saved as a file or in the database? Both. So the information of the main informations and the file are stored in Alfresco. So the file and the size, the disk space is occupied on the database of Alfresco, and the main details concerning the file name, for example, the extension, the size, and so on. While all the metadata that you can attach to the file, for example, for the energy performance, the type A, B, C, D, or the date of expiration, or so on and so forth, are stored as additional data on in CMDBuild, so in the openMAINT database. So there is a synergic interaction to allow this behavior. Where is it? Let me. Alex, is it possible to gather information from external tools and bring the data in openMAINT? Yes, as I said before, it is possible to interact with many other applications in many ways for any purpose, from to collect data for sensor, to put maybe send data to economical or government applications like PagoPA in Italy or something like that. And so we can do it via APIs, so through web services that can be REST, hopefully, but also SOAP, but we can also interact directly between connecting databases, but also from spreadsheets. So it's up to you, more or less, that to us. Then I don't see any other question. I hope to have gone through every possible doubt or information. In the meanwhile, I wait a couple of minutes. I say to you that you can find maybe also previous solution or answers to possible questions that maybe arose in our forum or on our website. Also some case studies that can be really interesting, and otherwise feel free to contact us by any of the medias that you can see here. And so let me change this. So yes, if there are no other questions, for me it's enough for today. Again, thank you really much. Hope to have been helpful, and let's meet again soon, hopefully. Bye, see you.